Snipers, you have to see what's happening in the cryptocurrency market today as Bitcoin has failed to hold this major support level here at the monthly open at the $36,500 level that we talked about yesterday. And so now being an umpire, we do have to address the downside scenario, and this major support here at 34,788 is back on the table. And so understand we're heading into the weekend. This is the most manipulated in the cryptocurrency market. So we have to be extremely cautious if we start to test 34,788. We do have this daily candle here closing in a few hours, and so the next daily candle is going to be below the previous weekly open and the monthly open. That is something that we have to keep in mind. And if we start to see continued price action below this $37,300 level at the monthly open, unfortunately the $34,788 level is the next door that could potentially open, and that could lead us towards that $24,000 level. And so we do want to keep this scenario in mind, and then we also want to look at this 30% downside here and understand that we know there's a lot of buyers in this $30,000 range. Are we going to see a weekend manipulation, maybe sort of a wick here, and then a push back to the upside? Who knows? I want to talk about what we could potentially see if we were to see downside based on the schematics of this triangle. And then we're going to take a look at what's happening to Ethereum and altcoins. Of course, we know Ethereum is showing more weakness than Bitcoin. That's the storyline that we've discussed throughout this week, and you can see we're forming new lows on a daily basis, heading towards the support here of 53,500 Satoshis. This would be a bullish flag if we were to look at this in the macro. And so that could be an extremely positive thing here in the next few days into next week. However, at this point, we are sort of taking the elevator down, and that's what markets typically do. They take the ladder and the stair steps up, but they take the elevator down, and that's why we see a lot of these massive wicks. And we have to be careful because obviously the weekend is coming. Are we going to be seeing some momentum here on the weekend? That is certainly on the table. I have to be the umpire, and all I'm doing is calling balls and strikes. And so I'm just being the umpire today and letting you guys know things are not the best coming into the weekend. And so I talked about that yesterday. It's a very dangerous game that we're playing here, coming below this $36,500 level. Now 34,788 is back on the table, and it's not even Saturday. And so we have a long weekend ahead of us. And of course, when we look at the total cryptocurrency market cap chart, as we were just looking at, we are knocking on this 200-day moving average for a fourth time. The more you knock on the door, the more likely it is to test it. Are we going to see some more downside into the weekend? It's on the table once again. So we're going to talk about Bitcoin dominance as well. We're starting to see a little bit of a curvature back to the downside, maybe to retest this 50-day moving average. I don't know if we'll see much price action here. If we do, I think we'll continue to the upside, head towards that 50% dominance, possibly test this 20-week moving average for the first time in this bull cycle. So that'll be an interesting thing to watch as we head into the weekend. And then, of course, others' dominance here. When we look at this chart, we're still above home base, the only chart in the cryptocurrency market above the 20-week moving average. That's a positive thing here for altcoins. And so traditional markets are also something we'll look at in this video because, of course, it's Friday. We're seeing the close. Gold back down below this major support, breaking down to the 1764 area. That is a puzzle piece on the table after the DXY, of course, pushed up after Jerome Powell's announcement of interest rates possibly increasing in 2023. And so now that the US dollar, it has sort of an expiration date to when it's going to be a lot harder to, accrue, we're starting to see strength here. And so this is affecting all markets. We look at the S&P 500 closing the day 1.67% down with this extremely bearish continuation candle. And so there are a lot of negative puzzle pieces on the table. Let's be honest. We know Bitcoin has already suffered an over 50% correction. Once again, there's a downside scenario. We're going to talk about that. You guys are watching the Snipers channel. My name is Naeem Al-Obeidi. Remember to smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm. So first I want to talk about exactly what's happening here to Bitcoin. So we look at this 4-hour chart, and of course, we are now below this monthly open in the $36,500 level. I talked about this yesterday. If this level were to break, it puts back the $34,788 level on the table. And at this point, it looks like we're going to come down and test this. It's a very extremely important support here. And you can see we've held it once, twice, a third time, a fourth time. We can consider this a fifth time, sixth time, a seventh time. You can see the majority of the body of the candles stay above this level. And we know this was also a major level here from the start of the bullish rally that took us above 60,000. And so this is an extremely crucial support level here at 34,788. If this door opens, it does put 24,000 on the table. I think a lot of us kind of get the point on that at this point. A lot of analysts have, made that decision. Some people are saying the $34,200 level. Some people are saying the $31,000 level. For us, it's going to be the $34,788 level. And I don't mind that level because it's a pretty early confirmation. And so, are we going to be seeing some weekend manipulation, some wicks to the downside? I think it's certainly possible. So the best way to play a weekend that is going to be extremely uncertain and it's going to possibly see downside is to really just have positions to dollar cost average in this range that we know Bitcoin has the opportunity to come in. And we also know that 24,000 is a major support. And so positions within this range, obviously the lower the better. So maybe the larger allocations in the lower end. I think that's not a bad idea to start initiating on your exchanges, have those buy limits open, and so I think that it's certainly on the table with Bitcoin. I mean, I've been in this market for such a long time, and there are a lot of things about this market that are different than other markets. It's truly a free market. And so volatility is not something that has any sort of limit in this type of market. It's not like there could be a circuit break with the cryptocurrency market, right? And so so we could see volatility to the downside. Once again, 34,788. I don't want to keep hitting the sledgehammer on this tree that, of course, this is the level that we were talking about all of the last 3 weeks. And so, that's really the major level for me coming into the weekend, guys. 34,788. For the bulls, it could be an opportunity to buy. And so don't look at it as a negative thing. So outside of that, when it comes to the upside scenario, if we can get back above 37,000, that weekly open at 37,200, that's the early sign that we're seeing some momentum back to the upside. And then, of course, the $42,000 level is where we want to really get above, because that's where we have confluence here with the 200 period moving average. And so that rescue operation is still going to be confirmed if we're above 42,000. But we don't want to talk about the upside scenario just yet, when a lot of the puzzle pieces outside of the Bitcoin market are starting to point towards potential downside. And so I want to look at altcoins here. And I'm not going to take too long on Ethereum, but we are starting to head down. I'm expecting the 53,500 Satoshi level if we don't see any more momentum above this weekly open at 64,000 Satoshis. And so that is affecting the overall altcoin market, of course. The total cryptocurrency market cap, though, it's still at this major level. We know that 1 trillion, the big even, is down right here. So I just really don't expect the crypto market to be able to get below 1 trillion. And if it does, maybe a wick. I just don't think that the market can get back below that after already hitting over 2 trillion in total market cap. So I think that we'll see a very interesting correlation between altcoins and Bitcoin if we do see some volatility, because we look at altcoins right now, the fundamentally strong coins like Cardano and BNB. BNB having a lot of users, they're still strong right now. They're outperforming Bitcoin in some cases. And so I know for the most part, that's not the case. But, I think that if we start to see volatility in the altcoin market, it's really going to be a competition of, which altcoins could you grab at the best prices. So it could be a chance to shop. Look at Auto, it's up 6% against Bitcoin right now. So I think that some altcoins will maintain value if they have strong fundamentals. So I just want to just throw that out there, because we don't know what this weekend is going to bring us, and knowing this market, it could bring us anything. And so, am I saying we're going to see a 10-20% drop? Who knows? We might see a 40% push to the upside out of nowhere, as we've seen in the past with Bitcoin after death cross, right? So we have this 20-week moving average, of course, on others' dominance, still showing strength for altcoins. I think that's why we're seeing some altcoins outperform right now. So that's a positive thing. Now, let's really address this traditional market, because Saturday and Sunday, we're not going to talk much about it, but I do want to talk about gold here. So we saw this quick reversal back to the downside after having this bull trap, and now we're back at 1765. That is a sign that something's going on here, and the DXY is really the culprit here, of course. We've been talking about this for the last 2 months, really since the start of this year when we started to move up here. And so now that we've got this sort of double bottom formation, we got to monitor this DXY coming into next week. Has the crypto market truly seen the adjustment based on what the DXY did on the last 2 days of this week? That is still a question on the table, right? So we have the death cross here about to happen. And so it's going to be a very interesting weekend. Let's just say that. But the traditional markets right now are showing, the puzzle pieces are not on the side of the bulls here for Bitcoin in the cryptocurrency market, especially with the S&P 500 now with this massive bearish continuation candle closing the day. That's not a good sign into next week. Are we coming down to this 100-day moving average? It's on the table once again. And so very interesting stuff happening. Wasn't the best scenario to not hold that $36,500 level, but markets are volatile, and that's why there's opportunities on the short side. And of course, for those in the Discord, we send short signals. We sent a lot of altcoin short signals when Bitcoin first crossed 36,500 today. So I'm sure most of those hit profit targets. And there's opportunity on both sides. And even as bulls and long-term investors, when price comes down, it's the time to dollar cost average, right? If there's altcoins and it's time to shop, that's also a benefit of these type of volatile times. And so with that, thank you all for tuning in today. I appreciate each and every one of you. If you want to win Mastering Bitcoin, one of my favorite books on the technicals of Bitcoin, comment below and share this video. You'll have a chance to win. I'm going to pick a winner from our video yesterday, and we'll wrap up this video. Andrew Dillon says, garden variety is all good. I think and wait for opportunities when you mentioned garden variety. Thanks, Naeem. Appreciate the kind words, Andrew. Send me a message on Instagram. You won Mastering Bitcoin. And with that, thank you all for tuning into the Snipers channel today. Until next time, Snipers out.